What up, y'all? This is ASTRODIM here. Hey. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get my Bed and Astrology off the ground, I had so many questions. Like, how do I record an episode? How do I find background music? How do I get my show on popular podcast platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? Where do I find advertisers? Because, I want to get paid for all the hard work I do. Talking is a lot. It's a lot of energy, okay? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and 100% ridiculously easy to use. Yes. The cool thing about, Anchor FM, honestly, is that you can record anywhere at any time just by using your phone. You download the app. They have amazing engineering through the app where you can record and have, honestly, some decent ass recordings from just your phone. It's absolutely amazing. And I'm honestly shocked about how high quality my podcasts are because I was like, this is coming from my phone. Are you sure? But the cool thing about it is everything is done on the app. You know what I mean? And so once I'm done recording and once I finally make the established connections with the distributors, as soon as I'm done, it goes immediately to those distributors so people such as my audience or new folks can listen. It's just so dope. You don't have to do that much but to create the episodes, create the work, and everything's done for you after that. It's absolutely amazing. It lets the artist truly be the artist. It lets the creative be truly the creative. And that's what I really, really like, So if you always wanted to start your podcast like me, because I always wanted to start my podcast, but I just didn't know where to go. And I did so much research and I finally heard about Anchor. And it literally just fulfilled all my needs, So if you're like me, you want to start your podcast, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. And there's a lot of folks using it. There's amazing podcasts there. And I know your podcast would be amazing too. So go ahead and just join us. Join the kid. Join the cool team. You know what I mean? Again, that's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. And holla at me when you got that started, okay? All right, y'all. Peace. Hey y'all, this is ASTRODIM here doing the daily moon horoscope reading. If I sound out of it, it's because I am. Full moon energy always fucks with me, and it starts today. Well, not today, but it started on the 17th, and I need to learn how to prepare for full moons, but I'm usually not this out of it. I should have known. It's Pisces, the last decade. Of course, it's going to be crazy. You know what I mean? Shout out to my patrons. I did a live with them on Sunday, and it was lovely. Just know, y'all, that I will have the full moon reading today. Okay? Check if it's available now, but I should have it on Monday for sure. Cause I'm just like, ugh. I couldn't do it on the 17th. I wanted to. I was just exhausted, and Mercury retrograde's making things a little bit difficult, because it's trying to show us what we're doing wrong and trying to help us realize some especially with it being in Pisces, some self-undoings that we are creating in our thought process, our communication in our everyday lives, you know what I mean? But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the March 18th for the daily moon horoscope reading. It's funny, it's actually my lunar return is the Venus is going to be exactly where it is natally for me, and then it's also going to be my the moon's going to be exactly where it is for me, and then also it's going to be my Venus return, my lunar and Venus return. So I think that's kind of cool. Should be a special day for me. I hope so. It would be nice, especially because, I'm having this Juno conjunct Neptune vibe happening. It would be nice. Let's see what happens. Shit. Let's see what happens this month for me. That's kind of cool. A lunar return with Venus return at the same time. Yeah, we'll see. They're opposite of each other too, so it's very funny. But anyways, let me go and talk about. So I'll talk about myself and talk about the daily moon energy, okay? And so the moon's going to mostly be in the third decan of Leo, which is co-ruled by Mars. So, of course, Leo's ruled by the sun, but this energy is co-ruled by Mars. And so with this energy, our emotions are are kind of focused on, of course, our self-expression, but us taking action on our self-expression. And so if you, you're going to notice that you're a little bit more expressive, more reactive today, just reacting to just kind of being just a little bit like over expressive than usual. So for instance, like energy that's usually not known for being overly expressive will be, they'll be like more expressive than they typically are, and they may not be quote unquote expressive, but people are just gonna show out a little bit more, be a little bit more theatrical than usual, basically. And the thing is, what's gonna make it even more crazy is that they're taking actions on the self-expression, and taking action on how they feel, on their actual self-expression. Really taking action on what they identify with, and even playing around with certain hobbies or, talents that they have, and trying to push it forward, which is going to be tough because, you have to keep in mind that it is Mercury retrograde. And so, you may be feeling like sometimes the universe is pulling you back. Just realize that this is actually helping you figure out something. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind, all right? Anyways, let me go and talk about the rest of the energy. The dope thing about this is that the moon is going to be trine Jupiter. Moon trine Jupiter is showing, honestly, that theatrical vibe that we have, us taking action on our identity and our self-expression, is going to be multiplied. It's going to be abundant, but in a positive way. It's going to flow easily. And the reason why it's flowing easily, honestly, is because we're feeling comfortable in our concepts and beliefs to be this self-expressive. And so we're really showing the fuck out, honestly. We're feeling comfortable in our beliefs, our concepts. We're feeling comfortable with anything that's foreign, anything that's different. And so we're like, okay, bet, and starting to really act the fuck out. Around 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S., the moon and Jupiter is going to be at 11, maybe at 11 too. The moon and Jupiter is going to be exactly trine. So that's going to be really, really a potent energy. If you're not in the East Coast, just see how the time translates between 11 and 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. See how that translates, and I'll be interested to see how that kind of pans out. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's our vibe, which is going to be great. We're going to be super duper expressive, because we're going to be comfortable within ourselves. But the thing is, though, is that however we're feeling at the moment, we are going to be expressive in it. But you kind of have to remember with Leo energy too, honestly, of course, include your natural moon energy and how that flows. But Leo energy is expressive when it comes to face value shit. They're not expressive when it comes to the deeper emotional things. So kind of keep that in mind too. So we're just going to be theatrical and expressive on 1,000 when it comes to just regular everyday stuff, but not on our true emotions. When it comes to real emotional situations, Leo moons tend to keep that to themselves. You know what I mean? So that's going to be the vibe. It's going to be really cool. It can be a little bit dramatic, but it's cool though. Could be cool. The moon is also in conjunct Pluto. So while we're kind of like in our bag, really kind of like getting in our identity, expressing this identity unapologetically, even if like, because you have to think about the moon too. The moon is private, represents private energy, so you might be theatrical at home or in private, or maybe you feel comfortable in general and so you're being expressive just in general, you know what I mean? But anyways, while you're kind of being like this, like more of expressive with your emotions and expressing your identity more in your emotions and taking action on those things, you know what I mean? Pluto is in Capricorn, and so you're actually, even though this is fun, you're right now the collective is empowered by status, empowered by control, they're empowered by authority. That's why, like, when you think about it, that's why everyone's on this, like, money. Like, money is just, like, a big-ass deal, which it always has, but this obsession with money has been real since 2008. Like, it's been, like, ridiculous to the point of, like, even, like, I'm really into music, and music, people are like, oh, but this person sells more, even though the person that sells more records is not as good. Just because they sell more records, that's supposed to be a thing. Not realizing that, like, there's an art to it. And before 2008, honestly, that wasn't that. Like, you of course, selling records was a great accomplishment, but you had to be really good. And the people that were into the artistry were always revered a little bit more than the people making the big money, because they know how the industry is. And so Capricorn and Pluto is really putting that shit in our face. So we can kind of transform that way of being. You know what I mean? And I see it happening already, especially with Pluto being in the third decan. But we're basically being empowered by, it's kind of, honestly, this aspect reminds me of that exact example. Because in Pluto, we're empowered by status, by reputation, by career, by having a certain type of status, but emotionally we're really not focusing on the status. We don't understand that. We want to focus on the art of it, how we identify with our talents, our creativity, and how we emotionally are connected to it and express it. So, like, when you think about the example I gave you before 2008, of course, money was a big thing, selling was a big thing, but people were respecting the art more than anything. And it's kind of like 2008 and now versus pre-2008 and how they don't understand each other. That's a perfect example of that. You know what I mean? Like, how what we are empowered by collectively is status, but emotionally you want to kind of connect with your own identity, how you express your identity, how the art of your identity. You know what I mean? And so that's where we're having a misunderstanding there. We're not, how we are empowered is not connected to how our emotions are, because emotionally we want to express our identity more, and we want to create transformation though through figuring out our status and kind of claiming it. So that is just like totally different avenues here, you know what I mean? So it's really interesting. The moon is actually going to be opposite Venus, which is really interesting. Emotionally, we're going to be wanting to, again, express our identity. The interesting thing about expressing your identity, though, is that Leo, doesn't care to be unique. Like, they like to be unique, but they don't like to look at like the weirdo. So of course, when it comes to uniqueness, they kind of scan the energy out to see if it'll be received well, and then they express themselves, you know what I mean? But emotionally, we're on the vibe of being very theatrical with our emotions and taking action based off how we feel, how we are personally or emotionally connected to our identity. But in actuality, the interesting thing is that we desire to be more perceptive of our emotions, being more, what's a good way to say it? Instead of like doing, okay, let me explain it this way. The moon wants us to kind of be a little bit more self-focused when it comes to expressing our identity, because it's our identity. Who else we're going to be focused on if we're, if it's our identity, right? But we desire actually to be perceived by society well, to see what other people got to think, to hear what the other, like everyone else feels about our uniqueness and our talents and our creativity. That's what we're desiring. But at the same time, emotionally, they're like, no, this is how I identify with my life. This is how I express my creativity. This is my emotional connection to my creativity. And so it's literally going by what you identify with versus how people perceive what you identify with and what you need to make changes for. So that's kind of like the vibe there. Like, you desired for you to be perceived well, but at the same time, emotionally, you are caring more about how you are expressing your identity, because it's your identity. So you can't really focus on what people are perceiving your identity, because it's your identity regardless. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what we're going through here, which is really interesting. We're basically desiring one thing, but emotionally not connecting with it completely. This energy too, just in general, because I know like people like to hear like specifics instead of the general, the overall vibe of the aspect. The moon being in Leo, that's all about fun, of course, recreational vibes and romance, like kind of short-term dating. So you might be wanting love, wanting to enjoy yourself, but your desires, or Venus in Aquarius, your desires is more about discovering your uniqueness and how it plays out and how it's needed in the universal consciousness. So it's kind of like you emotionally want to be selfish, or emotionally want to focus on be self-involved, but you desire to kind of see what the collective needs and how you can help it, This may even say too that like emotionally you want to be in a romantic situation, but you actually desire things that are so unique that you don't think anyone will get you, so you rather just be asexual, be alone, you know what I mean? So I kind of see that too, honestly. So it's really interesting. What else is happening, y'all? The moon is also, I guess I'll count this because this is between the 3-degree orb. The moon is in conjunct Mercury retrograde. And so this is a funny energy, honestly, because like, Pisces is like, Pisces Mercury retrograde's been wild for people. We haven't been based off of logic. We've been kind of basing our mind and how we process things through intuition and empathicness, feeling things out and kind of like processing it a little bit more. I'm trying to process the things that we're intuitively feeling, you know what I mean? That's kind of been the vibe that we've been fucking with, honestly. And it's been kind of difficult. It takes time for people to kind of sort that energy out it makes sense of it, because it's all connected to our self-undoing. And so it's a little bit confusing. And so it's, especially with this retrograde energy, we're really trying to figure out how to process the things that we're picking up, the energies that we're picking up, the emotions that we're picking up from others, whether they're physically here or not. With the moon being in Leo, it's kind of like difficult for us to really understand this on an emotional level, because honestly, Leo's fixed, and so it's like, I feel this way and I'm going to express how I feel, and I'm going to stay feeling this way. I'm going to stay being expressive. This is going to be my thing, and I'm going to be focused on this emotion, how I'm feeling at this moment. Mercury and Pisces, they can't be so fixated on a certain thing, because they're emotionally, you're picking up so many emotions and you're trying to process it. And so you can't just be like stuck on processing one emotion. And so it's going to be difficult, because you're going to be emotionally stuck on one thing, but trying to process multiple emotions at the same time, but still emotionally going to be kind of fixated on a certain thing, depending on where the moon in Leo is in your chart. And so it's going to be like kind of difficult trying to understand your empathic messages that you're picking up, or intuitive messages that you're picking up, because you're going to be emotionally fixated on one particular thing. Okay, so it might be a little bit difficult emotionally in that aspect, especially because the moon is also, again, trine Jupiter. So that thing that you're fixated on for real. It's abundant, so it may be a little bit annoying. So prepare for that, please. You know what I mean? Lastly, the moon's going to be square Mars. Ugh, okay, so I should have saw that beforehand, honestly. We're going to be angry. Great chance of us being angry. First of all, Mercury is retrograde, right? But also moon square Mars. And so, especially in the beginning of the day, for me at least, before 12 o'clock, well, even after, a little bit after 12 o'clock too. But like during the daytime on my spectrum, on my time, you're going to be wanting to push forward into something that you've been like working on and focusing on for a while. And Mercury retrograde is probably making things a little bit difficult for you to like take action on that thing that you've been focusing on for a while, and it's going to be kind of pissing you off. And the thing is though, is that like, again, with the moon also trining Jupiter, when you have those issues, right, you're going to be really, really upset, and it's going to be like abundant. You know what I mean? Because again, Jupiter multiplies things. So your angriness is going to be multiplied. Wherever you're feeling is going to be multiplied. So, but with the moon actually squared Mars in this instance, emotionally, we're going to be wanting to be expressive, focusing on our passions and desires, focusing on how it connects to our identity and our emotions. But at the same time, we're going to feel this responsibility to stay focused on this practical thing in our life. And the thing is, though, that practical thing in our life, we're running through issues because of Mercury retrograde. And so it's just this huge frustration that we're going to be experiencing. So prepare, y'all. You know what I mean? Prepare for that. Because when you think about it, honestly, the only positive aspect that's really happening is this moon trine Jupiter, which is great. But trine doesn't necessarily mean great. It just means the energies are at harmony. So if you're angry, right, because of moon squared Mars, just because moon is trine Jupiter Yes, that's harmonious, but it's harmonious to what you're feeling. And so it will escalate what you're currently feeling. So especially with Jupiter making things abundant, it's going to be a perfect route to disaster. Because yes, it's the perfect route because the energies are trining, but you're already angry. So you're in a wonderful route. You're in the perfect route, but it's a perfect route of disaster because you're already angry, and then Jupiter's making it abundant, and so it's just making it bigger. You know what I mean? And so it's like a perfect route to something not so great. You know what I mean? So when you think about aspects, of course, like, you know, for the most part, sextile's positive, trine's positive, but this energy also can be saying that, like, this energy is harmonious to the situation that you're in, whether it's good or bad. You know what I mean? So yes, it's harmonious, but if you're in a bad situation, it's not gonna necessarily turn good. It can actually be harmonious to your fuckery. You get what I'm saying? I hope you catching that. But anyway, that's what I thought for y'all. I'm sorry that it's late, but you know, you guys are gonna get it on Monday anyway, so it's cool. But do you guys like my raspy voice? I don't know why my voice is raspy, honestly. I hope I'm not getting sick again. I've been like getting sick off and on. Mercury retrograde is in my first house right now, so it's been making me not feel good. It started in my second, and now it's in my first. And literally, as soon as it hit my first, I've been feeling like sick and more lethargic than usual. So I know I need to be thinking about the things that I do on an everyday basis affecting my appearance, my body, even my personality too. That's why I'm kind of keeping quiet and thinking before I speak and stuff like that. I just really want to reflect on how I'm feeling, how I'm logically picking up these intuitive messages and realizing myself and doing and healing them like I'm supposed to. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing the full moon reading, and that's gonna kind of equate to the Wednesday reading. Okay, so keep that in mind because Wednesday is the full moon. And but I'm gonna do the full moon. It's gonna be released on Monday, okay? But all right, y'all, just wanted to get this to you real quick. Hope you have a lovely day and a lovely week, okay? All right, peace.